Welcome back to the deep dive, everybody. Today we're going to be looking into something that I think a lot of our listeners can relate to, and that is the wild world of pet ownership.
Absolutely.
And for this, we are going to be jumping into a piece called Pet Problems, the hilarious chaos of having animals.
Yes, this is a great one. And, we all see the perfect pet fantasies online, but this piece really gets into the nitty-gritty of the realities of living with a creature, whether they're furry, scaled, or feathered. So, we're talking about things like those crazy midnight sprints.
Yeah.
Why are they so obsessed with garbage? The theatrics that they pull at the vet.
Oh, yeah.
The redecorating they do to our homes. And even, trying to dress them up into this pet fashions.
Yeah. Uh-huh. And speaking of the learner, for those of you who are joining us who love getting to the heart of things quickly and who really enjoy those surprising facts, our goal today is to really dive into some of the core themes that are revealed about pet ownership in this source. So we're going to be talking about those relatable scenarios, the aha moments, the humor and the unexpected, and those little insights that we think will have you nodding along, whether you've got a ton of pets, maybe you're thinking about getting one, or you're just curious about what it's like to live in this kind of madness. So with that, I think we have to jump in with something that I think every pet owner can relate to, and that is the midnight zoomies.
Yes, the midnight zoomies. It's that sudden, inexplicable burst of energy that pets seem to get right as you're settling down for the night.
Mm-hmm.
And this source really captures it well. One minute they're sleeping peacefully, the next minute they're tearing through the house.
Right.
It makes you wonder what triggers these nocturnal eruptions,
It really does. And it's funny because this piece actually breaks them down into different stages, which I thought was really funny. It talks about the warning bark.
Okay.
That low rumble or that I've got an announcement to make at 3 a.m. bark.
Right.
And you just kind of stir, maybe mumble something in your sleep, and you know it's about to happen. It's like a pet owner early warning system.
It's so true. And I think we've all developed that Pavlovian response, right? Even a slight shift in their breathing or just a little paw movement.
Yeah.
You're like, brace yourself.
Right.
It's coming.
Exactly. And then, of course, you get the quick peek. And, you slowly and cautiously raise your head from your pillow. You're trying not to make a sound, and bam, they're on the bed. This furry little missile has just launched itself onto your mattress, and they're staring at you with those wide, innocent eyes, and it's like adventure time.
Right. It's like their internal clock is completely different from ours. We're diurnal creatures, meaning we're most active during the day, whereas a lot of animals have those crepuscular or even nocturnal tendencies. So it leads to these hilarious clashes of energy.
Exactly. And then comes, of course, the part we've all been waiting for, the zoomie frenzy.
Oh, yes.
And this is when the real chaos begins.
Right.
They are racing through the house like they are being chased by, I don't know, an invisible army of squirrels. And furniture, forget about it. Lamps are wobbling, toys are flying through the air, and the laundry that you just folded 2 seconds ago is scattered to the four winds.
And they just don't even seem to see the obstacles, do they?
Yeah.
It's pure unadulterated speed and agility.
It really is. And the best part is when they decide to use your sleeping body as like an obstacle course.
Right. You're just part of the racetrack.
Exactly. You were part of the race.
But I think it raises an interesting point about their behavior, because these zoomies, obviously it's a way to release energy, but it can also be a form of entertainment for them, or even a way for them to practice their natural movements. What looks chaotic to us could actually be really stimulating for them.
Right. And then just when you think it's over, just when you think the madness is subsiding, you get what this piece calls the, oh, it's over, or is it moment.
Okay.
The running stops, they collapse on the floor, panting like they've run a marathon, and you consciously start to relax, maybe even drift back to sleep. And then, surprise, round two.
Yeah.
The grand finale, they leap onto your face, start meeting the pillows, maybe a little tug of war with the duvet. It's like an encore performance just to make sure that you are wide awake.
It's like they have this reservoir of energy, one last hurrah before they finally pass out. But it is funny how they always seem to want to get in that one last interaction with us before settling down.
It's true. And you know what? Despite the sleep deprivation, despite the fact that you're going to be exhausted in the morning, you can't help but laugh at it. It's just one of those things that makes them so unique. So from the nighttime acrobatics to the snuggles in the morning, it's all part of this tapestry. But okay, After surviving the zoomies, we have to get into another universal pet owner experience.
Yeah.
And that is, why does my pet love the garbage?
Oh, yes. Why is it that our discarded food, banana peels, empty yogurt containers, they're like a magnet to our pet?
They really are. And, it's a mission for them. It doesn't matter how well you secure it,
Right.
whether the lid is closed, you've put it in a cupboard. They are like little archaeologists on a mission to unearth ancient treasure.
It's true. You think you've won. The trash is double bagged and safely tucked away. And then you hear that telltale scrabbling, and there they are, head first in the bin, happily munching on a used coffee filter.
Yeah. And it's funny because the piece talks about, after the great trash hunt, you get the evidence. And it's almost like they're proud of themselves. They're strutting around with a gnawed chicken bone, or some soggy remains of a burrito.
Yeah.
Like they just hit the jackpot.
It is kind of funny how they do this.
It really is.
It's like they don't understand why we're disapproving.
Uh-huh.
Or maybe they do. It's just worth the risk.
Yeah.
I mean, it really shows their opportunistic nature.
It does. And what's interesting, too, is the piece talks about how it really does become this routine, the victory moment, as they call it. You walk in the door, and there it is, the overturned bin, trash everywhere. And they're just sitting there like, yes, I did it. And it was delicious.
And we go to such lengths to try to secure it,
Oh.
We buy special bins. We put heavy things on top. We try to outsmart them. But they always seem to find a way. It's like an arms race.
It really is. They are like little Houdinis when it comes to trash.
It's almost impressive in a way. It really shows their problem-solving skills,
Yeah.
They watch us, they learn, and they adapt.
That's true.
So I think you do just eventually reach a point of acceptance. You have to laugh, at their dedication to this garbage foraging.
Mm-hmm.
But, okay, so we've navigated nighttime zoomies. We've dealt with the trash situation.
Uh-huh.
Now it's time for another big event in the pet's life.
Oh.
The dreaded vet visit.
Oh, yes.
The annual trip that fills us all with anxiety.
It really does. It really does.
From the moment you even think about taking them
Yeah.
to the waiting room theatrics, it is a roller coaster.
Yes, it is. And it's funny because this piece talks about the pre-vet denial stage.
Yeah.
You just glance at the leash or the carrier, you say the word car ride, and they vanish.
They disappear.
They're gone. Suddenly, they're masters of disguise, and they give you those puppy dog eyes, that please don't take me to the pokey place look, and you almost start to question if you should even go.
It's so true. And it's amazing how they can sense it,
Yeah.
It's like they associate certain things with the vet.
Yeah.
They may not understand exactly what's happening, but they know that the carrier and the car and that particular route equals an unpleasant experience.
Exactly.
So, yeah, the anxiety just starts to build.
It does. And then, of course, you get to the car ride of doom.
Yeah.
They are convinced that they are headed to some terrible fate.
Uh,
The pacing, the whining, that look they give you. Like, how could you betray me like this?
It's a lot of drama.
It's so much drama. And all you can think about is that, the next challenge is getting them out of the car and into the clinic.
And, of course, all our attempts to comfort them just go right over their heads. They're in their own world of dread. It's stressful for both of us.
It really is. And then you get to the waiting room meltdown, right?
Oh, yes.
It's just a cacophony of sounds.
It's sensory overload.
Sensory overload. Weird smells, other animals, everybody's barking and growling and hissing, and you're just praying that your pet doesn't start a fight.
Right. And then you finally make it to the exam room.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when you get the Oscar-worthy performance of a terrified pet. The trembling, the attempts to escape the table. I mean, it's quite the show.
It really is. But finally, the visit's over, and we get to the post-vet recovery. This is where that wave of relief washes over them, and they give you that, how dare you do that to me, look. But then, miraculously, on the drive home, they're back to their normal selves.
It's like it never happened.
I know.
But it does highlight that, this is part of the routine of being a pet owner. It's this yearly challenge we face.
Exactly. Okay, so we've navigated nighttime sprints, garbage raids, theatrical trips to the vet. Now let's talk about those moments where we leave our pets alone for, a short amount of time and we come back to, well, let's just say a surprise.
Yes, I think we've all been there.
And this is what the piece calls the unintentional destruction moments.
Right. You leave the house with such confidence, You think, they'll be fine. They'll probably just nap.
Yeah.
But the second that door shuts, it's like they flip a switch.
Chaos mode is activated. And you never even knew that mode existed.
It is interesting how our presence affects their behavior so much.
Right.
Like when we're there, we kind of keep them in check.
Uh-huh.
But when we're gone, they're free to explore their wilder side.
Exactly. And then, of course, you get the discovery. You
Uh-huh.
open the door, and your jaw just drops.
Yeah.
Pillows shredded everywhere. It looks like a snowstorm hit your living room. That rug you love, well, it's missing a corner. You find a single shoe, just one, under the coffee table.
And the culprit is sitting there looking completely innocent.
Right. Tail wagging like nothing happened. But you know what? There's always that thought, like, well, at least they didn't get into the electronics.
It's true. We often measure the damage by what survived.
That's a good point. But the destruction rarely stays in one place, you know?
No.
Next comes the Great Escape.
Haha.
They're off to other rooms. They're on a mission. And you know what? It's almost always the bathroom.
The bathroom.
Toilet paper everywhere, like they were having a party. And then you start thinking, okay, what else could they have gotten into? Your phone.
It's like they see our house as their own personal canvas.
That's a good way to put it.
You know, they're just expressing themselves
Right.
in a slightly destructive way.
Right. Right. And then comes the final stage, the regretful realization.
Yeah.
You're looking at this mess. You're trying to figure out what went wrong.
Right.
Was it boredom? Were they trying to get your attention?
Yeah.
You know, but despite the initial annoyance, you can't help but laugh. And the piece is right. You don't stay mad for long.
Nope. You end up cuddling with them and forgetting all about it.
Yeah.
Until the next time.
Exactly. It's a vicious cycle. Okay, so we've talked about the accidental home makeovers, but now let's get into something a little more stylish.
Okay.
Let's talk pet fashion fiascos.
Ah, yes. Those well-intentioned but hilarious attempts to dress up our pets.
Exactly. And you know, this source really captures the clash between our desire to see them in cute little outfits and their absolute resistance to it.
It's a classic struggle.
It really is. And it starts with the first attempt, right? You're excited, you found the most adorable little sweater, you've triple-checked the sizing, and then you hold it up, and they look at you with a mix of confusion and betrayal.
Yeah, I think it's safe to say that most pets aren't too keen on the sensation of clothing.
Right.
Their fur is designed to keep them warm and protected.
Uh-huh.
So this extra layer just feels wrong.
Exactly. And then it devolves into the fashion show disaster.
Oh, yes.
You're trying on the bow tie, which immediately gets swatted off, the little vest, which they act like is made of lead,
Right.
the hat that just slides right down their face, and don't even get me started on those tiny shoes.
And the whole time, they're looking at you like you've betrayed them.
Like they don't even know you.
Yeah.
And you're just over here trying to get that one cute photo.
You know, it's really them just trying to say, I'm perfect the way I am.
That's just
Leave me alone.
Yeah. And then, of course, every once in a while, you get that rare, successful sort of fashion moment.
Oh, right.
You know, they tolerate a bandana for a couple seconds, or maybe they let you put on that sweater because it's freezing outside. And you quickly snap a picture because you know it's not going to last.
You have to seize the moment, right?
You really do. You really do. It's a victory, even if it's a small one. Okay, so we've talked about the chaos of pet fashion. Now let's move into something that I think is a little more between pet owners.
Okay.
Let's talk about pet parenting disagreements.
Yes.
And specifically, that unspoken competition of who has the most spoiled pet.
It's a very subtle, passive-aggressive art form.
It really is, and it starts so innocently. Someone mentions, you know, their dog's sophisticated palate.
Uh-huh.
Or how their cat has like a collection of artisanal cat toys, and then someone else chimes in and the ante's upped.
It's like, oh, my dog only drinks bottled water flown in from the Alps.
Exactly. It's the competitor's approach, as this piece puts it. Suddenly it's a game of one-upmanship.
Right, and then it devolves into this ridiculous story swap.
Oh, yeah.
Truth becomes completely irrelevant. It's all about crafting the most over-the-top tale of pet indulgence.
Right. It's like, oh, my goldfish has its own personal masseuse.
Yeah, or my hamster dictates his memoirs to a team of highly trained gerbils.
It just gets more and more absurd. But the funny part is, we all know it's just for fun.
Uh-huh. It's just our way of showing how much we love our pets.
Exactly. And by the end of it, we've all convinced each other that our pets are living better lives than most humans.
Yeah.
No one wins, but everyone gets a good laugh. Okay, we've talked about the pets who are pampered beyond belief. Now let's go to the other end of the spectrum.
Okay.
The pet who hates you, or at least pretends to.
Yes, the masters of the cold shoulder.
Yes.
They see us as just, providers of food and shelter. affection,
Hmm.
only if they feel like it.
Exactly.
And cats are, of course, the prime example.
Oh, cats are the experts at this.
They'll walk right past you like
Yeah.
you don't exist. You try to pet them. You go in slow, non-threatening,
Uh-huh.
and you get that look like, you serious?
Yeah, like, don't even try it, and then they just saunter away. You're left feeling totally rejected.
It's their independent nature.
Right.
They're not needy. They'll come to us when they want attention, but good luck getting it on your own terms.
Exactly. And, dogs, even though they're usually more affectionate, they can be pretty conditional, too.
Yeah.
The source talks about this. The, I don't need you, but I'll accept your services moment.
Uh-huh.
They'll ignore your pleas for cuddles when you're on the floor, but the second you sit down on the couch, they're in your lap.
It's like they know exactly how to push our buttons.
They do. They really do. And then there's, of course, the silent treatment.
Right.
The, you didn't pet me enough earlier, so now I'm going to pretend you're dead to me. Look, they turn their back, go to the farthest corner of the room, and won't even acknowledge you.
It's all very dramatic.
It really is. But deep down, they don't actually hate you.
Right.
It's all an act.
They just have their own ways of communicating.
Mm-hmm.
And the silent treatment can be pretty effective.
It really can.
Yeah.
But they always come back eventually.
Yeah. When it's time for treats.
Exactly. Food has a way of fixing everything. All right, so we've covered the pets who avoid us.
Right.
Now let's talk about the pets who are a little too close for comfort. The accidental self-care pet.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Ones who just don't understand personal boundaries, especially when we're trying to relax. You finally have some time to yourself, you're in bed with a book, and suddenly you have a cat on your face.
Yes. And they're so comfortable, just sprawled out like you're their personal pillow. It's like they don't even realize you need to breathe.
It's pretty audacious, isn't it?
It really is.
Like they're saying, I'm going to make you even more comfortable by blocking your airways.
That's a good way to put it. And then you have the bathroom buddy.
Oh, yeah. The follower.
The follower.
Right.
Who doesn't believe in closed doors?
Right.
They follow you into the bathroom. They might even jump in the shower with you.
Uh-huh.
And they're just perched there, watching you like you're the most interesting thing in the world.
It's like they think they need to be involved in everything we do.
They really do. And then there's the dog version, the Zoom call mishap.
Oh, yeah.
You're in the middle of a work meeting, trying to be professional, and your dog decides it's the perfect time for a big, slobbery kiss.
Their timing is impeccable.
It really is. You're left wiping your face, trying to maintain composure.
It's a test of our multitasking skills.
It really is. And, as this piece says, these helpful moments really make you question the whole idea of self-care.
Right, but you can't help but love them for it. They're just trying to be close to us.
I know.
They don't understand our need for personal space.
No, it's a foreign concept to them. Okay, so we've seen how our pets help us.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about what they're up to when we're not around.
Okay.
Let's talk about the pet's secret life.
A great mystery.
It is. And, the piece talks about how it all starts with the investigation begins. You notice something's a little off. Maybe a pillow is out of place or there's some crumbs on the floor.
Sure.
And you start to wonder, what is my pet doing when I'm not here? So you set up a camera.
You go full spy mode.
Full spy mode. And then, of course, the party starts. You see your dog lounging on the sofa, looking very comfortable. And then the unthinkable. Your cat joins them.
Right.
The cat who acts like they can't stand the dog when you're around.
It's a betrayal.
I know. And then it gets even weirder. The hamster and the guinea pig come out of their cages.
They're having a party.
They are having a party.
And, we can't help but imagine what they're talking about.
Right. Like, do they have their own little society?
It's fascinating.
It is. And then you get to the conspiracy theory stage where you start analyzing every little thing they do on the footage. Was that vase accidentally knocked over?
Right.
Or was it intentional? Did the cat really just push those keys under the couch?
Maybe they're working together to slowly drive us crazy.
Maybe. I mean, there's a part of their lives that we just don't see.
Uh-huh.
And it's fun to imagine what they're up to.
It is.
Yeah.
And I think the main takeaway from all of this is that, yes, they're living their best lives when we're not around.
They really are. They're having their own adventures. They're not just sitting there waiting for us to come back.
It's a good reminder that they have their own world.
Exactly. Exactly. And finally, we have to talk about this very modern phenomenon, pet influencers. The rise of the social media star.
Oh, yes. The world of online fame, where our pets are often more successful than us.
It's true. And, the piece talks about the silent yet successful influencer.
Right.
We're talking about the cats who are always sleeping in a sunbeam, the pugs and the tiny turtlenecks. They have millions of followers and they're getting all these brand deals while our perfectly filtered selfies barely get any likes.
And it's also effortless for them.
It really is.
Right.
They don't even have to try.
They're just being themselves.
Exactly.
And that's what people love.
Right. And then there's the comparison, We're over here planning our content, agonizing over captions, and our pets are getting free gourmet food deliveries.
It's brutal, but it's funny.
It really is. It makes you wonder how it all happened.
I think it shows the power of authenticity online,
Mm-hmm.
People are tired of seeing perfectly curated lives. They want something real.
And pets are definitely real. So, okay, we've seen the rise of the pet influencer. We've seen their luxurious lives. And I think, the moment of acceptance is when we just surrender.
Yeah.
We're never going to be as popular as our pets online. So maybe we should just embrace our role as their manager.
Right. Help them on their path to fame.
Exactly. So we have taken a deep dive into the hilarious chaos of pet ownership, and I want to thank this piece, Pet Problems, for really illuminating all of these universal experiences. We've covered it all, from the zoomies to the garbage to the vet visits, the destruction, the fashion, the pampering, the aloofness, the secret lives, and of course the social media stardom. And it really just shows how rewarding, albeit messy, it can be to have these creatures in our life.
And I think what's really great about this piece is the humor,
Uh-huh.
It reminds us not to take it all too seriously. Pet ownership might not be what we imagined, but those unexpected moments are what make it so special.
That's true. And to all of you, the learners, I want you to think about which of these scenarios you found the most relatable or surprising. What does it tell us about our relationship with animals? And if you're thinking about getting a pet, maybe this gives you a little preview of what to expect.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder what other hilarious and endearing things are out there.
It really does. There's always something new to discover. There is. Well, on that note, I think we're going to wrap up this episode of The Deep Dive. Thank you all for listening.
Yeah, thanks for joining us.
We'll catch you next time.
See you then.